Well, joining us now here on Morning Rush is James Perkins, Jr. He is the mayor of Selma, Alabama, the first African-American to be elected as mayor of that great and historic city. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. We appreciate your time. Let's start with what we witnessed a few days ago with President Biden being there, of course, on the bridge and gave a very vocal defense and once again a call in terms of voting restrictions in this country, protecting the right to vote. I'm just wondering what you think it is about Selma that it remains that place where, when it comes to voting rights or civil rights in this country, it remains a pilgrimage destination for prominent politicians in this country. For folks who don't know, school them on why Selma is so critical.
Thank you for inviting me and being a part of this conversation. But to fully understand the significance of Selma as it relates to the voting rights of people of color in this nation, you really have to go back to April of 1865. The last significant battle of the Civil War was fought right here in Selma, destroying a Navy munitions plant that was standing up the Confederate Army. The only battle Nathan Bedford Forrest is recorded to losing was right here in Selma. It is recorded as the last significant battle of that war, ushering in the actual implementation of the Emancipation Proclamation. That was the first ground zero experience that Selma contributed to ushering in the rights to vote of people of color in this nation. March of 1965, fast forward 100 years, and Selma, for the second time, Bloody Sunday, March 7th, ushered in the rights of people to vote in this nation. Not the first time, but the second. So to fully understand the significance of Selma as it relates to the voting rights of people of color, we have to look at the full span and the contributions that we have made.
Thank you for that history lesson. I appreciate that. And President Biden said yesterday, quote, "The right to vote and to have your vote counted is the threshold of democracy and liberty. With it, anything's possible. Without that right, nothing is possible, and this fundamental right remains under assault." One, do you agree, and why? And two, though, we both know the political math in D.C. is not on the president's side right now. So what realistically can be done on Capitol Hill to make any progress on this front?
The consequence of the gutting of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the removal of Section 5, is actually what we are seeing today with the challenges of voting in various states across this nation. It is imperative that we restore the Voting Rights Act back to its origin, its original place, so that the voting rights protections are in place. That's the significant piece of this. Listen, without voting, without one person, one vote, there is no democracy. That's what people are fighting for in Ukraine. That's what people fight for all across this world. When you look at the protest in Tiananmen Square, that's what that was about. When you look at what happened in Johannesburg, South Africa, that's what it was about. And you can see vestiges of the voting rights movement of Selma in all of those protests. This is something that is so critical to democracy, not just in this nation, but across this world. And that's why Selma is so important, because we have not just become a symbol of this struggle, we actually are this struggle.
But again, politically speaking, President Biden doesn't have the numbers. The Senate obviously is still a Democratic, very narrow majority, and of course the House now in GOP hands, and there's opposition in that party to do what you're speaking of. So there's a political reality there. I'm wondering how you reconcile of that in the absence of political action on Capitol Hill. What can be done, if anything, or is this just a fact of life as it stands right now, and we just have to wait until political winds change?
Well, my simple response is Lyndon Baines Johnson didn't have the numbers. We just have to have the political courage to do what's right in this nation. This is not just a threat to Democrats. This is a threat to this nation. And if we don't resolve it, then really we are actually endorsing the dismantling of democracy in this nation.
What concerns you more, sir? What you see as an attack on voting rights and voting protections around the country, or the idea across a large swath of the country that people just don't trust the election system at all. They don't want to concede the race, or they question poll workers or voting machines. What is of greater concern to you, the lack of voting rights or a lack of trust in elections themselves?
Well, I don't think it's an and. I don't think it's an or situation. I think it's an and. I think it's a combination of both things. We have to, first off, I think the reason that we have so many challenges with the voting process itself is because good people won't put their names on the ballot. We need good people to actually step up, people who operate in their daily lives from a position of servant leadership, people who actually can be trusted. They have demonstrated integrity. They have demonstrated a willingness to work within legal and ethical boundaries. We need to, these are the people who deserve to be in these leadership positions. Once that happens, then the communities, our people, will be able to trust government more. And I think that would also increase government electoral participation nationwide.
Let me switch gears before we let you go. I know your city dealt with some really violent weather a few weeks back in January, that tornado outbreak that killed at least 9 people. How are you guys bouncing back?
Well, you know, the tornado came through our community, was very destructive. We were thankful to President Biden for signing the 100% reimbursement declaration that gives us the ability to get 100% reimbursed on this disaster. We're also fortunate that in Selma, even though the destruction was massive, we did not have any loss of life within Selma and Dallas County. In our neighboring county, Otaga, there was significant loss of life. And so we still grieve with our neighbors and our friends in our neighboring county. But I will tell you, this is, you know, despite what happened in the Battle of Selma, despite the dismantling of Reconstruction, despite Jim Crow, despite Bloody Sunday, despite all of the challenges that we've had, including the January 12th tornado, we're still Selma strong. And we will continue to fight back, to stand up. And I am convinced that we have the capacity to build back better. That is what we asked the president for. I shared with him both the opportunities and the challenges that are before us. And I left that meeting convinced that we do have a path forward to make Selma better, stronger after this event.
And real quick, sir, before I let you go, I promise it's the last thing. It just struck me, considering how steep Selma is in the civil rights history of this country. What took the city so long to have a black mayor? You're the first.
That I don't know if I can take that long story and make it short. I'm going to try to make it even shorter. But I grew up in Selma. I was at 12 years old. I was a protest child. I participated in the movement. And little did I know at that age, when we were protesting and after all of the lights were turned off, the celebrities left, no one could have told me then that that little black boy that was there issuing in the desegregation of our lunch counters and our doctor's offices, the little black boy at 12 years old walking down the streets of Selma, who would have been approaching a white woman, would have had to look to the ground and go across the street. No one could have told me that I would ever grow up to be the first African-American elected to mayor of the city. But at the end of the day, I feel blessed, honored to be able to do that. There's a lot to that story. And I don't know that we really have time to talk about that whole lineage, that whole era where voting rights was a struggle, where the Courageous Eight and the Dallas County Voters League in the 50s and 60s were doing the things necessary to stand Selma up and to get the right to vote. People, the right to vote in this nation didn't start on March 7th, 1965. It actually started in 1950 when Amelia Boynton and F.D. Reese and James Gildersleeve, those folks who were here on the ground working for voting rights. This was not something that we just started in a march. This was something that had started. That's what made Selma such an ideal place for this movement. And we are still that struggle. That's why it is so important that we get Selma right in this nation. I can recall my wife and I having conversations as we watched President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle go through the challenges. We recognize many of the things that they were going through because we had gone through those very same things, those very same steps, challenges to our faith, challenges to our residency, and all of those things. This is not a struggle that is over. It is a struggle that continues. But Selma, I say, is still Selma strong. And we will stand up. We will make good. I'm convinced that Selma is the place where this nation can truly have a place, a Camp David of reconciliation of racism and the racist challenges that we see. I'm convinced that Selma is the place, the ground, the space where we can have safe conversations to deal with these challenges, not just in this nation, but across the world, because this is not something unique to America. It's a world problem.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate your time and your passion this morning. Pleasure to talk to you, and we'll be right back with more after this.
Thank you.